Dear brothers and sisters, this is our last day of the week of fasting and prayer, and I hope we really had a blessed time. Why do we fast? Why did we fast? It can be a fast of sorrow and humility before God, like Daniel did, or David, or Nehemiah. But most importantly, fasting is a way to have a special encounter, to get closer to God. In the Old Testament, fasting was rather common. Prophets were fasting before meeting God. Not always, of course, for there is no recipe, no rule, and the wind blows wherever it pleases. Moses, Daniel, Nehemiah had an encounter with God. We call it a theophany. They were all different. Abraham didn't fast, though he was close to God and met him like a friend. But having briefly shared the life of nomads in the savannah in Mali years ago, I can tell that living with almost nothing, though lacking of nothing, under the starry sky is quite a spiritual experience. Abraham was not living in the same world as we do today. Our problem here today in the Western world is that we are engulfed in the materiality, and technologies give us false illusion that we can move swiftly everywhere from anywhere, anytime. We live in a world of illusion, and it is time to come back to spiritual realities. Nowadays, God still reveals himself, for example, to Muslims, in dreams and vision, the man in white. But an encounter with God has always different appearance. Moses saw a burning bush, Abraham saw travelers, Elijah heard a still small voice. A still small voice, that's often the way the Lord speaks to us and reveals himself to us. But to hear it, we need silence and solitude, two spiritual disciplines together with prayer and fasting. John in Patmos had a vision. He called it revelation. You know it, a wonderful vision of victory, the victory of Christ and the coming of the bride on earth, the union with Christ and the sovereignty of God on all the earth. John says, I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me, and when I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and among the lampstands was someone like a son of man, dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet, and with a golden sash around his chest. What an encounter! So powerful that John fell like dead, but Jesus touched him gently. Why golden lampstands, may you ask? There was a golden lampstand in the temple, in the first temple, Exodus 25. It was the model of spiritual realities. The golden lampstand role was to bring the light into the temple during the night and to show the presence of Jehovah in the Holy of Holies. At this time, there was no direct access to God, except when he decides to reveal himself to someone. But Jesus came. He has torn the veil of the temple, and he has opened a new way for us. As said in Hebrew, Jesus has entered the real sanctuary. We can figure in our mind a golden lampstand while praying. This light symbolizes the light of God, and Jesus is light. Jesus is the light of the world, as said in John, the true light, and he has been sent to guide us. Psalm 43:3 says, Send me your light and your faithful care, let them lead me. He came to save us. Jesus showed himself in glory during the transfiguration, during his life on earth as a man. It was a brilliant light, said in Matthew 17, the same light that John saw in Patmos. And after his resurrection, he showed himself in a brilliant light to Paul on the way of Damascus. We can and we will meet Jesus. That's sure. How and when, we don't know. But the way to search him is to search him with all our strength. Not only in petition prayers, but also prayers of adoration, praise, and most of all, in listening his voice. Fasting helps us to be freed from the facilities of the material world. Fasting from fruit, of course. But fasting is also from noise, from other pleasures, computers, my phone, parties, shopping, anything. Silence and solitude prepare the ground to meet God. And also meditating the Word of God. For Jesus is the Word made flesh, and often does he reveal himself in the Word. Psalm 119, 105 says, your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. Jesus reveals also himself in our brothers and sisters. He says, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. When we show love to our brothers and sisters, we see Jesus in them. And you know this is true. We experience it so often when we help the persecuted Christian we serve. And I'm sure many of you have experienced it in our church. And finally, we are invited to be lights in this world, to be a letter written by Christ. Matthew 5:14 says, you are the light of the world. And Paul in 2 Corinthians, for God who said, let light shine out of darkness, made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ. And in Acts 13, Jesus has commanded us, I have made you a light for the Gentiles, that you may bring salvation to the ends of the earth. So I encourage us, and I encourage myself, to walk in this light, from this year to be light, and to seek more earnestly and perseveringly to be closer to God, and to see him the way he chooses to reveal himself to me. As Job said, in my flesh I shall see God. God bless you.